The world's biggest general election is getting underway in India. It's a complex and logistical process that will take 6 weeks to ensure almost 1 billion people have the chance to vote. Electors in more than 100 constituencies in 21 states and territories are casting their ballots in the first stage. Polling officials have been traversing the nation. Some have been flown in, driven or hiked for hours to reach remote areas of the country.
There are around 7 to 8 polling stations which are non-motorable. So some of the polling station locations, polling party have to walk. In some of the locations, they have to go via vote. And there is one particular polling station where they have to trek for around 9 kilometers.
Opinion polls suggest an easy victory for Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his right-wing Hindu nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party. The 73-year-old seeking his third term in office, touting India's economic growth and its standing on the global stage.
Our government has already started working for its third term. We are creating a roadmap for the next 5 years. We are working on the big decisions we need to make in the first 100 days of our next term.
The general election sprawls 44 days in total. There are 7 days of voting. The last is on June the 1st. The results will be announced 3 days later. Almost 969 million of India's 1.4 billion people are eligible to vote. They'll choose 543 members of the lower house of parliament for 5-year terms. To win, a party or coalition needs to win a majority. Voters will cast their ballots at more than 1 million polling stations, such as government buildings and schools. Overseeing the process will be about 15 million election officials and security staff. And this year, 18 million first-time voters will have their say.
For me, I think the biggest issue is probably job creation and employment opportunities. As a young adult, I'm very aware of the need to find stable employment.
We want a government which can make provisions for job opportunities. So many people who are educated and have studied are unable to find jobs today. So, as a first-time voter, I will vote for a government which can support the youth.
Something I see around me all the time, which is brain drain. Going to the West and countries outside India is much more more attractive for kids, even my age. I feel like this needs to be tackled really quickly.
The BJP, Narendra Modi and his regional allies are facing a fragmented and divided alliance of more than 20 opposition parties, complicated by the arrest of a prominent critic of the Prime Minister. Many voters say they are disillusioned.
This election, it is very one-sided. And these elections are more about an individual. The issues are not there. If you ask me, the issues should be of price rises, of good governance, should be of crime. It is the job of the opposition to pick up the issues. And the opposition this time is completely paralysed.
While he enjoys widespread popularity, Narendra Modi has his critics. They argue that his government has cracked down on dissent and media freedoms, undermining India's democracy and its status as a secular nation with attacks on religious minorities. Some voters have expressed concern about unemployment, inflation and the government's handling of farmer protests over crop prices. Observers say if he wins, Mr Modi will continue to reshape India.
If the BJP government and primarily Mr. Modi win the kind of heavy majority they're talking about, 400 seats in a parliament of 540, overwhelming that would be, we're going to see major changes. We'll see constitutional changes that will really transform the face of Indian politics. Will be very different in future if those sorts of changes take place. So I think it's a huge election.
And for more on this, I'm joined by Pavan Luthra, editor of the Indian Link Media Group. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure.
What are you expecting from this election?
Well, I'm looking at what the path India would follow for the next 5 to 15 years because the Modi party is going to sweep these elections according to all kind of analysis which has come through. In the last election, they won 303 seats out of a total of 572. This time, the expectations are between 350 and 400. In fact, Prime Minister Modi has put together a slogan, "Iski baar 400 par, which I'll translate in English means this time I want more than 400. And it seems as though he's going to get very close to that number.
That would be an extraordinary majority. If that happens, and if, as you point out, the polls are indicating that it certainly might, what does that say about the Indian population's view of Narendra Modi and his party?
Dan, if I think about the 1992 slogan of Bill Clinton's election, it's about the economy, stupid. I think that translates across to what Indians are feeling at the moment. If you look at it, India is the 5th largest world's economy. By 2030, it'll be a 7 trillion economy. The world is going to have a lot of Indian workers going around different parts of the globe. So people are feeling quite prosperous at the moment. The trickle-down economics is working. And people at the moment are more concentrating on the IPL at the moment, the Indian Premier League, rather than at the elections. So basically, people are happy with where things are going, and they're happy to give Narendra Modi another tick in the box for another 5 years.
There might also be a view that that is voter apathy, but you don't see it like that, do you?
Well, I believe that Indians are very articulate and informed voters. There have been some discussions about Modi's Hindutva policy, his secular policies. Now, supporters of Modi have come in and said that he's just trying to correct what was going the other way for 67 years of the Congress government. Modi believes in the Uniform Civil Code, which means that there should be equal opportunities for everyone, irrespective of religion. But if India is about 80% Hindus, chances are they're going to get advantage of that. So the whole issue is going to stay around the concept of people giving Modi a tick in the box if he's okay. But remember, if he's not, we have 1.4 billion people who can vote at the next elections and throw him out.
Yeah, and we mentioned there that there are something like 20 opposition parties. It is a very spread out opposition field. What are the key, broadly speaking, what are the key things that they are campaigning on? I mean, I mentioned some of those around integrity, rights, freedoms, some of the, particularly for religious minorities. But are they the key things that is driving those opposition parties?
Well, this election is more about people than policies. Again, it's about Modi versus the opposition, and there's no visible face of the opposition to put forward their policies. Modi has come in with a new idiom. He says, my commitments are my guarantees. So I am going to guarantee that there is going to be better opportunities for women, for youth, and there's going to be more opportunities for those marginalized. Whereas the Congress party has come in on law and justice issues because they believe that's something which is lacking as a discussion in the community. But if we even go back into social media, Modi has got about 99 million Twitter followers. Rahul Gandhi has got 22 million. It's more about personalities rather than policies.
Yeah, it strikes me that there is a massive celebrity component to this election. What sort of, does that have an impact on having a public debate about policy, which it sounds like is not happening?
I don't think Prime Minister Modi believes a lot in public debates. He's been a Prime Minister who hasn't come up in front of the media too often. I think it's more about personality, so there won't be any public debate about policies. It's just going to be the tailwinds of economic reform, which the Modi government is going to build on. They also are quite proud of how they position India on global politics. As you remember, that when Modi came to India, he was feted by more than 20,000 people at the Kudos Arena.
When he was here with Prime Minister Anthony Albanese.
Exactly, the boss, as Prime Minister Albanese called him. So the persona of Modi is far greater than any other political leader or any other person in India at the moment.
Pavan Luthra, from the editor of the India Link Media Group, thank you so much for your insights. Really appreciate your time.